I helped my boyfriend pack for his work conference, even though I was burning up with a fever, and later discovered the trip had nothing to do with work. You guys, my entire world just imploded. I just found out the man I thought I loved, the one I'd been completely supporting for months, was telling his family I was nothing more than his free housekeeper. And the gut-wrenching kicker? He bragged that American girls like me were easy to manipulate, and they all just sat there, laughing. Honestly, I'm still reeling from the last few days. It all started 8 months ago, a whirlwind romance at an international street food festival downtown. My roommate, Bridget, and I were just enjoying the atmosphere when I saw him. Tiago. He was working at a pastry stand from his home country in South America, and with that charming accent and those dreamy eyes, I was totally smitten. We chatted, he gave me an extra pastry with his number scrawled on the napkin, and I swear, it felt like a movie scene. I was absolutely swooning. We started dating, and at first, it was everything I'd ever wanted. He was so attentive, so sweet. He constantly complimented me, always wanting to spend time together. He'd tell me stories about his culture, and his accent just made him even more attractive. About a month in, he started staying at my small one-bedroom apartment more and more. I've worked hard for everything I have since I was 20, and while office administration isn't my dream job, I was proud of my independence. I even told Tiago early on about my ambitions, that I wasn't just going to stay put, because I come from a family where you earn what you get. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, he basically moved in. I didn't even question it. One day, all his stuff was just there, and he wasn't going home. I was happy, truly. I thought we were building something real. But looking back, the first big red flag was staring me right in the face. He never offered to chip in for rent or utilities. Around the 3-month mark, I finally worked up the courage to mention it. He just looked at me, so earnest, and said, "I still have no stable income. You know how hard it is with a visa." And I believed him. I wanted to be supportive. Immigration is complicated, right? Then, the comments started. Small at first, almost innocent. You swear a lot. Women from my country don't talk like that. The way you dress is very American. You're so loud when you laugh. I brushed them off as cultural differences. But they became more frequent, more biting. He'd say things like, "You wouldn't survive with us back home. Women there know when to be quiet." Or he'd just make faces when I spoke during dinner with his friends. It chipped away at me. Meanwhile, our finances were a mess. He'd pick up an occasional food delivery gig, but mostly, I'd come home exhausted after a 9-hour day to find him sitting at my desk, playing games on my laptop. He'd ask what was for dinner, and somehow, I'd just make it. I can't believe how unbalanced things got. A week ago, I finally snapped. "I'm getting kind of tired of carrying all the expenses myself," I told him. And his reaction? It was absolutely wild. He got defensive instantly. "So, you just don't trust me? I thought we were building something together, and you're counting pennies like a shopkeeper." I felt so guilty afterward. Like I was the bad guy for bringing it up. He didn't speak to me for 2 days, and I ended up apologizing to him. What was wrong with me? Then this past weekend, Tiago announced his parents were in town and he wanted them over for dinner. I was actually excited to meet them, but then he started giving me all these instructions. "Please don't joke too loudly. Don't be rude. My mother is very traditional." I spent the entire day cleaning my apartment, cooking 3 dishes, including one from his country that took forever to figure out, just stressing about making a good impression. By 7 p.m., I was drained but plastered on my best smile. His parents were polite, that's the kindest way to put it. They smiled and nodded, but something felt off from the moment they walked in. Almost immediately, they started speaking to Tiago in their language. Not just for a quick moment, but for like 80% of the evening. Even sitting across from me at the dinner table I had spent hours preparing, they barely acknowledged me. I tried to stay positive, smiling and nodding like an idiot, understanding absolutely nothing. Tiago would occasionally translate, but it was always vague. Oh, they're just talking about our cousin's new baby, or they're discussing some family business. Halfway through dinner, I realized I'd forgotten cream and lemons for dessert. I told Tiago I needed to run to the corner store. They all nodded and continued their conversation as I grabbed my keys and left. When I returned about 15 minutes later, they abruptly switched topics. The rest of the evening was the same, me trying too hard, them speaking their language, Tiago acting weirdly different around his parents. They left around 11 p.m., and I was so exhausted, I just went straight to bed. The next morning, while making coffee, something clicked. A year and a half ago, after a break-in, I installed 2 small security cameras. One in the living room facing the front door, one in the kitchen. They're not hidden, they're just regular small cameras on shelves from Amazon. I don't check them regularly anymore, they're just for peace of mind. But standing there, a thought hit me. I could probably hear what they were saying while I was at the store. At first, I felt weird about it. Is this an invasion of privacy? But then I remembered, 1, it's my apartment. 2, the cameras aren't hidden. And 3, they were literally sitting in my home, talking about something while I wasn't there. So, I grabbed my phone and pulled up the security app. I found the footage from last night, around 8:30 p.m. Initially, it was just more of the same, them talking, eating my food. But about 2 minutes after I left, the conversation shifted. I couldn't understand a word, but their body language and tone screamed it. His mother was animated, gesturing toward the kitchen where I had been cooking. His father nodded, occasionally laughing. And Tiago? Tiago was smiling and nodding along with whatever they were saying. I didn't know what to do with the footage since I couldn't understand it. But then I remembered an online service I used for work that transcribes and translates audio. I downloaded the clip, uploaded it. About an hour later, I had a transcript in English. And you guys, I wish I had never translated it. His mother had said, "She's not very pretty, but she cleans up after you well." She laughed and added, "Well, she knows her place at least." His father replied, "She's like a free housekeeper." Smart choice, son. And Tiago. Tiago, the man I'd been supporting, cooking for, cleaning up after for months, laughed. He laughed and said, "She's useful. The apartment is always clean. Food is always ready. American girls are so easy to manipulate. Just make them feel bad about asking for anything, and they'll give you everything." There was more. Much worse. I can't even type it out without feeling sick all over again. They mocked my appearance, my job, my apartment, even the food I had spent all day preparing. All while eating at my table, in my home. The most painful part? Throughout their entire conversation, Tiago never once defended me. Not once did he say, "Don't talk about her like that." Or, "I actually care about her." Instead, he participated. He laughed. I sat there staring at my phone screen for what felt like hours. My mind kept replaying all those critical comments he had made over the months. All the times he had made me feel like I wasn't good enough. It all made sickening sense now. He never respected me. I was just convenient. He's still asleep in my bed as I type this. He doesn't know that I know. I'm sitting in my kitchen, the same kitchen where his family laughed at me, trying to figure out what to do next. I know I need to end this. I know I need to get him out. But a huge part of me wants to confront him. I want to see his face when he realizes I understood every awful word they said. That's where I'm at right now. A woman who apparently spent 8 months being someone's free housekeeper, while thinking she was in a relationship. I feel so incredibly stupid. He just woke up and asked what I'm doing. I said, I'm just checking emails. He kissed the top of my head and is now in the shower. I think I'm going to start packing his things while he's in there. He's not spending another night in my home. First off, thank you to everyone who commented. I honestly didn't expect so many responses, and I read every single one while hiding in the bathroom yesterday morning. So, a lot has happened in the last 36 hours. I'm typing this from my friend Bridget's couch at like 2 a.m. because I couldn't sleep, and I needed to update you guys. Where I left off yesterday, Tiago was in the shower, and I had just discovered what he and his parents said about me. I was sitting there feeling weirdly calm. You know, that kind of calm when you're so angry that you go completely quiet inside? That feeling. When I heard the shower turn off, I put my phone down and went straight to the bedroom. I pulled out 2 black garbage bags and just started packing his stuff. Not neatly, just shoving clothes, shoes, his stupid gaming headset, everything, into those bags. There wasn't even that much. He came into my life with basically nothing. I found the little box where I kept photos of us together. One's from that food truck festival, a beach day from last summer. I ripped them all in half and threw them in with his clothes. I was in the middle of emptying his drawer when he walked in, with just a towel around his waist. He stopped dead when he saw the bags, the clothes everywhere, and the look on my face. At first, he seemed confused, asking, "What are you doing? Is something wrong?" His voice had this nervous edge I'd never heard before. When I didn't answer right away, he tried to touch my arm. I moved away so fast I knocked over the lamp on my nightstand. It didn't break, but the shade got dented. That's when I told him. I said I knew exactly what he and his parents said about me while I was at the store. I told him I had the footage from my security camera, that I had it translated, and that I knew he called me his personal housekeeper to his parents. Guys, the way his face changed. First, there was a split second of shock, then instant denial. He tried to say I must have misunderstood the translation, that I didn't understand the cultural context, that they were just joking. When he realized I wasn't buying it, he switched tactics completely. He got angry, started yelling about how I was spying on him, how I invaded his privacy by recording his private conversation with his parents. Like, in my own home, on cameras that were visibly mounted on the wall, that have been there since before I even met him. I was still weirdly calm, just continuing to pack his stuff while he ranted. That seemed to make him even angrier. He grabbed my wrist hard and pulled me away from the bags, saying I was crazy, that I was overreacting, that this was why women from his country were better. They didn't act hysterical over nothing. That's when I lost my calm. I yanked my arm back so hard that his nails scraped my skin. I shoved him away from me and told him to get out of my apartment. I said he had 20 minutes to get dressed, take his stuff, and leave, or I was calling the police. He called me a crazy B-word and said I'd be nothing without him. Then came the part that actually made me laugh. He said I was throwing away the best thing that ever happened to me. The best thing? A man who mocked me to his parents, who contributed nothing, who treated me like a servant. I told him that was rich coming from someone who'd been living off me for months. I reminded him that everything he'd been enjoying was actually mine. My apartment, my food, my Netflix, my everything. I told him he was a parasite, not a boyfriend. That hit a nerve. He got all red in the face, and for a second, I thought he might hit me. Instead, he grabbed the bags I'd packed, stormed into the bathroom to get dressed, and came out a few minutes later, fully clothed but still seething. As he was leaving, he kept trying to have the last word, saying I'd regret this, that I'd call him crying in a few days, begging him to come back. He said no one else would put up with me. I just opened the door wider and pointed out. The last thing he did before leaving was knock over the little table by the door, sending my keys and mail flying across the floor. Then he stormed out, slamming the door so hard that my neighbor across the hall opened their door to check if everything was okay. After he left, I just sat on the floor of my living room for like an hour. My wrist had these red marks where he grabbed me, and they were starting to bruise. That's when it really hit me how bad things had gotten, how I'd let someone treat me that way for months. I cried for a while, not even sad tears really, more like relief mixed with anger. Then I kicked into practical mode. I texted my friend Bridget and gave her a quick rundown. She immediately offered to come over, but I needed some time alone first. I went around the apartment, gathering anything Tiago might have left behind. Found his spare phone charger, a couple of books, and a jacket in the closet. I put them all in another bag by the door. Then I called a locksmith. It cost me $275 for an emergency Sunday service call, but by 6 p.m., I had new locks on my door. Worth every penny, to be honest. Around 8 p.m., the text started. First, just one, you're making a big mistake. I didn't respond. Then, I left my charger and some other things. I need to come get them. Then, are you seriously ignoring me? After everything I've done for you? Everything he's done for me? I almost threw my phone across the room. By 10 p.m., the tone had shifted. I'm sorry if you misunderstood what we were saying. It's a cultural thing. You wouldn't understand. Then, can we please just talk about this? You're overreacting. Shortly after, Bridget came over with wine and takeout. She sat with me while I showed her the video and the translation. She was livid. I had to talk her down from going to find Tiago herself. She stayed until midnight, helping me delete photos of him from my phone and untag myself from posts with him on Instagram. This morning, Monday, I woke up to 17 missed calls and about 30 texts from Tiago. They ranged from angry, "You'll regret this," to apologetic, "I'm sorry, please let's talk," to manipulative, "I have nowhere to go. You know my situation." I blocked his number. Then I remembered he could still contact me on Instagram and WhatsApp, so I blocked him there too. Then Facebook, then even LinkedIn, just to be safe. I called in sick to work because my wrist was sore, and I honestly couldn't face people yet. My boss was understanding. She just said to take the day and feel better. Around noon, there was a knock at my door. I checked the peephole, and surprise, it was Tiago. I didn't answer. He kept knocking, then started calling my name through the door. I stayed completely silent, just sitting on my couch, watching him through the peephole like some weird, reverse stalker situation. After about 10 minutes, he left. I texted Bridget again, and she insisted I come stay with her for a few days, just to be safe. That's where I am now. I also keep thinking about all the little red flags I ignored over the months. How he never contributed financially. The way he criticized how I talked, dressed, and laughed. How he made me feel guilty for asking for basic fairness. The fact that he never invited me to hang out with his friends without him. How he belittled my career goals. Each one seems so obvious now, but I missed them all because I don't even know. I guess I was just so caught up in the idea of this charming, exotic boyfriend that I didn't want to see the reality. Oh, and one more thing. His cousin, the one he's actually close with, messaged me on Instagram this afternoon. Apparently, Tiago told his entire family that I threw him out because I was mentally unstable and jealous of his culture. His cousin didn't believe him and wanted to know what really happened. I sent her the translated transcript of what they said about me. She was horrified and apologized for her family's behavior. At least one decent person in that crowd. So that's where I am right now. Sleeping on a friend's couch, blocked my boyfriend of 8 months on every platform, and trying to figure out what happens next. I've never had a relationship end this dramatically before. Part of me is scared he'll keep trying to contact me or show up at my work. He knows where I work. Another part is just sad about the whole thing. Not because I miss him, but because I feel so stupid for not seeing this sooner. Bridget thinks I should file a police report about him grabbing my wrist, just to have it on record in case things escalate. I'm not sure if that's necessary, but maybe she's right to be cautious. Hey everyone. It's been almost 2 weeks since my last update, and I wasn't planning to post again because I hoped, the whole Tiago saga was finally over. Turns out I was wrong. And yesterday, things reached a whole new level of crazy that I still can't fully process. So, after my dad confronted Tiago, things were actually pretty quiet for about 10 days. I moved back to my apartment, started getting into a routine again, and was feeling more like myself. I even went on a little shopping spree and bought some new throw pillows and plants to reclaim my space. Small things, but they helped erase the feeling of him being there. My therapist suggested I keep a journal of my feelings about everything that happened, which sounded super cheesy at first, but it's actually been helping. Writing things down makes them feel less overwhelming somehow. I've had 2 more sessions with her, and we've been unpacking why I let so many red flags slide for so long. Turns out I have some stuff to work through about my self-worth. Who knew? Anyway, work has been a welcome distraction. My coworkers don't know all the details, but they know I went through a bad breakup, and everyone's been really supportive. Yesterday started like any regular Tuesday. I woke up, did my skincare routine while listening to a podcast, grabbed coffee from the place down the street, and headed to the office. The morning was busy with back-to-back meetings, and I barely had time to check my phone until lunch. When I finally did check it around 1 p.m., I had 3 missed calls from an unknown number and a voicemail. I stepped into the break room to listen, and as soon as I heard the voice, my stomach dropped. It was Tiago, sounding not right. His words were slightly slurred, and he kept switching between English and his native language. From what I could understand, he was saying he needed to talk to me, that everything was falling apart, and that I owed him a conversation. I immediately deleted the voicemail and blocked the number, then texted Bridget to let her know he'd found a way to contact me again. She suggested I tell my office security just as a precaution, which seemed like overkill at the time, but I decided to stop by the front desk anyway. Our building has 2 security guards, this older guy named Ron, who's been there forever, and a younger woman named Alexis, who started a few months ago. I caught them between shifts and briefly explained that my ex might try to contact me at work and that I didn't want to see him. They were super understanding and said they'd keep an eye out, which made me feel a bit better. I went back to my desk and tried to focus on work, but I kept checking the time and glancing toward the elevator. By 4 p.m., I had convinced myself I was being paranoid. I mean, he'd left a weird voicemail, but that didn't mean he was actually going to show up, right? Around 4:30 p.m., I was in a small meeting with my team in one of the glass-walled conference rooms near the front of the office. We were discussing some upcoming project when I saw movement by the reception area. I glanced up, and there he was. Tiago, talking animatedly to Alexis at the front desk. I quickly told my team I needed to step out and texted Ron, who I knew was in the break room, to come to reception ASAP. I ducked behind a column, trying to decide what to do. While I was still deciding, I heard his voice get louder. He was trying to move past Alexis, saying he just needed to talk to me for 5 minutes, that I was being childish by ignoring him. That's when Ron appeared, and thank God he did. Ron's this tall, broad-shouldered guy who used to be in the military, and he immediately positioned himself in front of Tiago, who took a step back. I couldn't hear everything they were saying, but I saw Ron pointing toward the door, his stance making it clear this wasn't a negotiation. For a second, I thought Tiago might actually leave. He took a few steps back, still arguing, but less forcefully. Then, because the universe apparently decided I hadn't been through enough drama yet, Marcus chose that exact moment to walk by me and ask if everything was okay. Tiago's head snapped in our direction. And when he saw me standing there with another guy, his whole demeanor changed. His face got this scary, intense look, and he suddenly shoved past Ron, heading straight for us. Ron caught up to him in seconds, grabbing his arm to stop him. But Tiago was like a completely different person from the charming guy I met at the food festival. He was yelling now, loud enough for the entire office to hear, about how I'd ruined his life, how I'd turned everyone against him, how I was already moving on with this guy, meaning Marcus, who looked completely bewildered. People were coming out of meeting rooms and standing up from their desks to see what was happening. I was frozen in place, mortified and scared all at once. Marcus stepped slightly in front of me, which was nice, but also made Tiago even angrier. Tiago was still trying to get to me, with Ron blocking his way, when he started saying the most horrible things. He called me a manipulative B-word who'd tricked him, said I'd been secretly recording him to ruin his life, that I'd attacked him and thrown him out on the street. Then he switched tactics completely, his voice breaking as he said he loved me, that he needed me, that he had nowhere to go. He started crying, actual tears streaming down his face, begging me to just talk to him, to give him another chance. Alexis had called building security, and 2 more guards showed up just as Tiago made one final lunge toward me, breaking free from Ron momentarily. Marcus instinctively put his arm out to stop him, and Tiago actually took a swing at him, missing by inches. The security guards grabbed him immediately, one on each arm, and started physically removing him from the building while he continued yelling, alternating between insults and pleas. As they dragged him toward the elevator, he looked over his shoulder at me one last time and shouted that I'd regret this, that this wasn't over. Then my boss appeared beside me and quietly suggested I take the rest of the day off. She walked me to my desk, waited while I gathered my things, and then had Ron escort me to my car just to be safe. The whole time I felt like I was moving through a fog, like this couldn't possibly be my actual life. I called Bridget from the parking garage, shaking so much I could barely hold my phone. She met me at my apartment 30 minutes later with takeout. I told her everything while we sat on my couch, and she stayed over again last night, sleeping in my bedroom while I took the couch because I was too wired to sleep anyway. This morning, I woke up to a text from my boss saying to take today off too, and that HR wanted to meet with me tomorrow to discuss implementing some additional security measures. Marcus also texted to check if I was okay, which was really decent of him considering he almost got punched by my crazy ex. I decided to call the police and file a report, something I probably should have done when Tiago first grabbed my wrist. The officer who took my statement was understanding. She said that while his behavior definitely warranted concern, they couldn't arrest him just for showing up at my workplace and making a scene. But she did help me start the process for a restraining order, which I'm following through with today. I also got another message from Tiago's cousin. Apparently, after the scene at my office, Tiago went on some kind of bender, posting a bunch of cryptic, angry stuff on his Instagram stories about betrayal and revenge. He blocked me, but mutual friends screenshotted everything. His cousin is genuinely worried about his mental state and apologized again for what her family did. His cousin said his parents have finally intervened. They booked him a one-way ticket back to their country that leaves tomorrow. They've apparently told him he has no choice. They're cutting him off completely if he doesn't come home. His cousin thinks he'll actually go because he's running out of friends to crash with and has no money left. I've triple-checked that my doors and windows are locked, and Bridget is staying another night just to be safe. So, that's where things stand right now. I'm still processing everything, still a little on edge, but also feeling more certain than ever that I made the right choice in ending things. If his cousin confirms he actually gets on that plane tomorrow, I'll finally be able to breathe easier. Thank you to everyone who's followed this whole saga and offered advice and support along the way. Your comments helped me stay strong when I was doubting myself. I'll post one final update if anything significant happens with the restraining order or if I get confirmation that he's left the country. For now, I'm just focusing on reclaiming my space, my peace, and figuring out who I am again after this whole nightmare. I'm hopeful that this is truly the beginning of the end.